All right, let's go over these 10. And then tonight's assignment will be the last 10, 21 to 30, okay? But when we have an absolute value problem and we're solving it, there's two problems, remember? No matter if it's an equal, a regular equation, or I think the last one we had to do was inequality one, right? So when you write your two problems, why isn't this working? Did it freeze on me? There we go. Let's see if that works. No. All right. So, I wonder what the deal is here. It works on this one. We'll just start it over. See what happens. I know what the problem is. Got the wrong. There we go. All right. So, first problem is an original. 2x plus 6 equals 10. Or 2x plus 6 equals negative 10. So all you have to do on the equal one, the regular equation, is change that number on the right side to negative. And then you just solve both sides like you normally would. Subtract 6, divide by 2. Subtract 6, and divide by 2. So positive 2 and negative 8. So just remember there's two problems when it's absolute value. Number 12, we have to factor. It's a quadratic. You don't have to factor, I guess. You do whatever method, but you could graph it if you want and all that stuff. But this is an easy one to factor because by a value is 1. So factors of negative 24 that add up to a positive 2 are positive 6 and negative 4. Okay. So then what we're supposed to do is set these two equal to 0 and solve. So I'm going to add 4 to get x by itself there. Here I'm going to subtract 6. Okay. But if you want to graph it or complete the square or whatever, you can do. Now, number 13 says complete the square. All right. It won't factor, so you could use the quadratic formula like 14 also, but I'll show you how to complete the square. That's how you're supposed to do this one. And what you do is you take the c value to the other side and add a blank on each side of the equation. And remember to fill in the blank. It's always the b value divided by 2 squared. So what's 4 divided by 2? 2, and what's 2 squared? 4. Okay, so again, you have that note card. You can put this stuff on that note card to help you out, to remind you how to do this. And then what we did is when we complete the square, we made it into one of those special trinomials that factors like I'm factoring now. You can just make one set of parentheses and square it. And the terms that go in the parentheses are the square root of the first term, which will always be x, and the square root of the blank, which is square root of 4, is 2. And then whatever's in front of your b value, its addition, goes between the two terms. If that was minus 4x, then we put x minus 2. And then from here, we just take the square root of both sides to finish it up. So we get x plus 2 here. Remember, plus or minus. What's the square root of negative 1? I, right? We said write that down yesterday. Maybe you need to write it down again. So then to finish it up, we subtract the 2 over. So it's negative 2 plus or minus I. So remember, when you take the square root of both sides, you got to put your plus or minus symbol in there. And then get x alone. All right, so that's completing the square method. All right, 14 is using the quadratic formula, so you might want to write that on your card if you need to, which is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. So that's that quadratic formula. Make sure you set it equal to 0 to start, which it already is. So a is 3, b is negative 5, and c is 4. And then you just substitute in. So b is negative 5. And remember, when we put this in our calculator, we don't put the square root symbol in. We wait till we simplify the square root later. Okay, so that gives us a positive 5. 6 here. And then we just do the b squared minus 4ac. B squared is 25. We'll just do that in our head here. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12 times 4 is negative 48. So that comes out to negative 23. Okay? Because if you put this square root symbol in your calculator, you're going to get error because of that negative sign underneath. Okay? So the only thing we can do, since it's a negative 23, is pull the I out when we simplify it. 23, there's no factors but 1 and 23, so I can't simplify the radical at all. So that would be our answer. 5 plus or minus I times the square root of 3 over 6. So that's using the quadratic formula. Again, you have the note card. You should put that on there so you have it down correctly. Questions on those 4 problems we just did? 1, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. 15. It just says solve. You can solve it however you want, but this will factor pretty easy. It's got a GCF of x squared, and then you get x squared minus 4x minus 21, which is one of those regular trinomials, x minus 7, and an x plus 3. Negative 7 times 3 is negative 21, and negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. Then you set each one equal to 0. So you got x squared equals 0. You take the square root of 0. What do you get? 0, right? You got x minus 7 equals 0. So x equals 7. And you got x plus 3 equals 0. So x equals negative 3. So there's your 3 answers. 0, 7, and negative 3. If you wanted to, you could put it in your calculator and graph it and just see where it crosses the x-axis, right? Those are the zeros. Those are the answers. All right. So, if you want to on those, just put it in x to the 4th minus 4x to the 3rd minus minus 21x squared and graph it, wherever it crosses the x-axis are your answers. Okay, so this point, there's your -3. It hits right there. There's your 0. And it crosses there. There's your 7. We could do them that way too. All right. I like factoring if I can factor it. And then again, if it says a certain way, you should do that way. Okay. So let me move that out of the way for a sec. So we can do 16. 16 is just a proportion. When you have a fraction equal to a fraction, like that, you can just cross multiply. So you can just go 4 times x minus 4 equals 7 times x plus 2. All right, you can just do that cross multiplication. But remember, when you cross multiply, the two sides are equal. Sometimes we forget that. So distributing the 4, you get 4x minus 16. Distribute the 7, you get 7x plus 14. So I'm going to subtract 7x and add 16. I'm doing 2 steps at once. All right. So 4x minus 7x gives me a -3x. The 16s go away. The 7x's go away. And then 14 plus 16 is 30. And we get x is -10. Now, on these fraction ones, we got to check and make sure that doesn't give us a 0 in the bottom. Is -2 or -10 plus 2 a 0 or -10 minus 4 a 0? No, so it's a good answer. But sometimes, we get an answer that doesn't work. It'll give us that 0 in the bottom. All right. The next one is a radical equation, square root equation. I got to get the square root part alone to start, so I'm going to add 5. So that's what I got. Now, what do I do to get rid of that square root symbol? Yeah, you square both sides. Just like what we did on that one when we completed the square, we wanted to get rid of that square. We square rooted both sides, right? So we're doing the opposite of what we did before. So we're going to square both sides. So I get x minus 10 on the left. Sorry, not equals. X minus 10 equals 25. And then I add 10 to the 25, so we get x is 35. And we're supposed to check that too. And 35 minus 10 gives me 25. The square root is 5. It works out. Okay? But sometimes those don't work out either when we put them back in the original problem. The stuff coming back to you, hopefully. Okay, number 18. Add the 31 first. You want to get the x part alone. So you got 4x to the 3/4 equals 108. The x isn't alone yet, so divide by 4, because that means 4 times x, right? And then you get x to the 3/4 equals, what, 27? When you divide 108 by 4. Now, how to get rid of that 3/4? 4/3, yeah. I got to raise it to the power, though. Okay? So this goes to the 4/3 power, both sides. The mistake we made sometimes when we had these is we would just go 27 times 4/3 instead of 27 to the 4/3 power. So make sure you use your caret. All right? All right, so 27 caret, then parentheses 4/3. 4 divided by 3. So the answer is 81. So those aren't real tough. But again, remember to hit that caret button, not the times button when you do the 4/3. Just the reciprocal of that. Now, we also said if this was even, that numerator was even, we were supposed to put what symbol in there? Supposed to put plus or minus. But it wasn't even, it was an odd. Right? That 3 is an odd numerator. So if the numerator is even, we're supposed to put plus or minus. So just maybe write yourself a little note on your card, for 18. If the exponent's even, plus or minus. 19, we just solve it, get x alone. And then when it says graph, we're just graphing on a number line. We don't have an x and a y, we just have an x. So these two, you're supposed to solve and graph 19 and 20. It's just a number line graph. It's not a XY graph. All right. So I'm just going to take the 4x to the left and the 5 over to the right. So I get negative 3x is greater than 12. Now, what's going to happen since I divided by negative 3, since I did it this way? You got to switch your inequality symbol, remember? So this becomes x is less than negative 4. Okay? So remember, if you're solving an inequality and you divide or multiply by a negative number, you got to switch that inequality symbol's direction. So that's what we did. And now we can just put a number line graph here. Negative 4 in the middle. So negative 5 would be to the left, negative 3 to the right. Do I do a solid dot or a circle at negative 4? Circle. And less than is which way? To the left, right? Okay, number 20 is an absolute value. So there's two problems. So we got to remember the two problems. All right, 4x minus 1 greater than 11, or when it's greater, it's an or. When it's less than, we call it an and. And then 4x minus 1 again, but we switch our inequality symbol and we make it negative 11. So for the number 11, we just made it equals negative 10. I think that's what it was before, or whatever we started with. All right, when it's an inequality, you switch the inequality and the number. Okay? And then we just solve them. Add 1, divide by 4 for both. Oops. I don't need plus. I need greater than, right? So this one is x is greater than 3. That's one answer. And over here, when we add 1, we get negative 10. And that's negative 2.5, or 5 halves. So then we graph those two. So 3 is over here. Negative 2.5 will be over here. It says less than negative 2.5. No equals, so it's a circle again. And it says greater than 3, so no equals, circle. And that was it, right? 11 to 20 you had? Any questions? Hopefully this stuff's coming back to you. Not too bad, is it? Okay, so do the rest of it today. Do tomorrow. If you get it done today, you can show me. Some of you are getting your stuff done before you leave. That's fine. So 21 to 30. Again, work on filling out your note card so you have it ready for you. You don't have to do it all at once. As we go over this stuff, do that kind of stuff. All right. Thanks for your attention.